Hey y'all, my name's Destiny. I'm a 29-year-old trans woman. This is gonna be the first video in many coming later. Just gonna go through my transition timeline from here. I didn't make videos. I have some pictures, they'll come later. Of before transition, as I started. So, give you a little backstory. I am a United States Army veteran. I did 6 years Army, and then decided to get out. I played football in high school. Played football throughout my childhood. I grew up in a household where this kind of thing was not allowed. I was never allowed to paint my nails. Was never allowed to have any interest that wasn't male by default. I did get caught when I was about 8 or so, wearing a tank top and having little balls on my chest because I was 8. I got caught, and I was so afraid of my parents when my mom asked me. I said, "No, I'm just curious. Please, for the love of God, don't tell Daddy." That was my plea as 8 years old. Had I done it over again, I would have just faced the music from the beginning. Then I wouldn't have had to wait until I was 27 to start transitioning medically. I started socially transitioning at about 25, 26 years old. That's 25 because we had gotten back from my last deployment. So I started transitioning my last year and a half in the Army. I grew up here. This is my parents' home. Dad passed away in January. Life has been interesting. I won't say that my life has been hard, because in some aspects that would be a complete and total lie. I won't say my life has always been easy, because in the same reason, some of the aspects that would also be a complete and total lie. I'd say I had a pretty good life. I did, however, try to come out when I was 17. So, I came out to my mom the first time when I was 17. And then I got sent to therapy to get fixed. As we see, it didn't work. So, obviously. What I experienced isn't near as bad as what countless others have experienced. I will say, in case you don't know, when you go from being a man to a woman, you notice certain things. Not even in the physical aspect, but in the work environment. I wasn't aware of. Guys don't really listen to you when you're no longer a guy. I mean, they just kind of brush you off, especially if it's anything in blue collar work whatsoever, which is what I currently do. Which also comes into the phone. There's a truck coming down the road. Which also plays into the fact that I grew up here. This is a Southern Baptist, heavily Christian home. So, during my childhood, I had an interest in acting. Although it was shot down pretty soon, because in this household that was viewed as not a manly thing to do. And there were only 3 exceptions, being John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, and James Arness. It was an unwritten rule here that we didn't do that. We didn't talk about that. My imagination was through the roof. I spent my entire childhood here as a mostly only child because my brother's 13 years older than me and didn't live with us. And I live in the middle of nowhere, Georgia. So, I still love the state. It is still my home, unfortunately. Politically, this is a shit place to live. However, I refuse to be pushed out of my home. So there, we're going to go ahead and put that. Since I wasn't allowed to act or things of that nature, I was pushed into cars and football and baseball. So I spent a lot of time with my dad in the shop, picking up anything mechanical I could pick up to give me a fallback plan of whatever I was doing. It also formed my first dream to be a mechanical engineer. However, that fell through. Math and me don't get along. I went in the military because that was my backup plan to that. When I was in the military, I realized that that wasn't for me. So I picked up a bit of a trade while I was there, and I came home. Well, working blue collar as myself, it's not the most fun thing. The pay is not great. I bought a house that's killing me financially, and it's the only thing I have to pay on at all. And I can't do it because my mortgage is $1,600 a month, and I make roughly $1,300 a paycheck, so I'm always slightly behind no matter what. I do get VA benefits, so those help. I got fired from working on helicopters as a subcontractor after the Army for being trans. They didn't come straight out and say that, but the coincidences, the timing was all perfect. I got singled out. I got fired for something I didn't touch. I was told that I had failure to follow simple instructions, which is completely untrue because I was reading the manual, doing what the manual said as opposed to what they want. So, which is supposed to be rule number 1. So, and I don't like politics at all, so excuse this part. It was like 2 days after the election that they fired me. My face has changed a bit in 2.5 years. My hair, obviously. I love my hair. My dad flipped his shit when I got my ears pierced. I did, however, never come out to my dad. My dad knew. To me now, that's plainly obvious. But he never wanted... He was, if I don't ask, they won't tell me the truth. So, he never did. And I, in return, never did. I had just worked up the nerve to tell him when we found out he had cancer. And I was going to then tell him when he got better. However, fighting it for 3 years, he didn't win. I still love my dad, even though the treatment wasn't great. If you conform to everything he wanted, easiest person in the world to get along with. However, I don't. My brother doesn't. I'm the only transgender and bisexual in my immediate family, in that little circle. So, okay, I've been dating a guy for the first time. Dated him. We've been dating for a little over a year. I'm coming up on a year in 1 month, but that's neither here nor there. That's for a later time. But I kind of knew something was off around 8 years old. So I kind of start paying more attention. Around 10, I was like, wait, something's not right here. I don't know what it is. Something is not right. Something doesn't match here. And at 14, I'm like, I can't be the only one that feels like this. Or am I? Around 15, 16, I was like, I feel like a girl. Should have been a girl. You know, I felt that way at 8 years old. Like, man, girl things feel natural. Well, what society deems girl things felt natural to me. I was like, okay, that's cool. And in 10, I was like, man, that's nice stuff. I really. 14, I'm like, wow, I am different. I don't know if I'm the only one or if there's more than me. So I start talking to some friends, and I'm just like, is this normal? And they're like, no, I wouldn't say that's normal. And 16, 17, I'm like, I should have been a girl. Like full on. I 100% know this. Meanwhile, I'm a senior in high school when I'm 17, playing football. And like, I loved the game, but the locker room, oh my God, I didn't feel like I fit in at all. Whatsoever. It's like everybody else is just comfortable getting undressed, and I'm just sitting here like, I can't. Yeah, I have to find the bathroom, change by myself. That's how I felt at 17 years old. That's how I felt before that. That's how I felt about football in general. In the military, it was the same thing. Joined the military in basic training. The last one in the shower to make sure that I'm there by myself, and the last one out for the same reason. But yeah, I tried to come out on 17. I came out to a group of friends, whatnot. We talked. It's around that time that I discovered the name Destiny. I tried a few others, but that's the one that stuck, and I legally changed my name to that. Which, all in all, wasn't a bad process. At least not for me. It just kind of would hit blocks, and it would frustrate me. And it would be something like super minor or minuscule. I would just get frustrated because I wanted this to like hurry along, because here I am 29 years old and it's taking forever, feels like. My God, I'm all over the place. I am so sorry. But I finally said, you know what? Enough is enough. I've got to come out. It's 2013 when I'm 17. And I go with my mom and dad to Myrtle Beach for fall break, because we don't ever do anything on spring and summer that goes to the beach. At this time I'm recovering from a dislocated left kneecap. We're at the beach, and we go in. And me and my mom just go into all these beach stores. Just see all the cool stuff they got. I love going into those stores. I always have. We get there, and in the car I break down and just start bawling my eyes out, saying, these are the bathing suits. These are the things I want. These are the things I feel I need. This is me. And I kind of got scolded for that. Like, that's not right. You're not going to get this. It's not who you are. I'm just like, you don't know who I am because you won't listen. So I hid it back away so I could get out of the therapy I was going through. Hid it. I'm better. Jamie, I'm all better. until I joined the military a couple years later. And then I finally had enough. After my first deployment, I was like, I need to go to therapy because, well, I have done locked away every emotion except rage and anger. And I need a way to get out of this. So I start going to therapy. I go to therapy with the right mindset, first of all. I go to therapy and I just completely open up. And then through therapy, sorry, there's a carpenter bee. Oh yeah, I'm easily distracted. But in therapy, I get better, completely opened up, and I'm just like, I still can't unlock my emotions. And then we dig in, and I come to find out I have repressed memories that I didn't realize I had that were repressed because, they're repressed. And, you know, I realized that most of these revolve around my father. The way he was about things. My father would brag about things he did in his 20s, and they were not something to be proud of. I can give an example, just fair warning, it's going to be kind of harsh. My dad and some friends of his, this was the 60s, early 70s, mid 70s. They would go hang out at Piedmont Park in Georgia here, and they would pretend to get gays because the Piedmont Park area was more known for gays. They would pretend to be gay until one would come out to them, and they would proceed to beat them with a baseball bat. And my dad was proud to tell this story. So when I realized something was off, I was like, there's no way I can tell it. I'm going to either be beaten or worse, killed because I'm different. So I feared for my life. And I realized through therapy that was one of the things holding me back from just letting myself be me. Just fear. But there was a lot of things like that come in there. My dad was a very violent person when he was drinking. He could also be the most wonderful person in the world when he was sober. Sweetest person. And that wasn't conforming to him, but he could be. There were times my dad was the nicest person in the world, and you're like, who are you? I don't know who you are. At the end, my dad was really concerned with my mom's health and everything she was going through, and he was making sure everything was okay, which I know my dad loved my mom, always. They were married 31 years, and it wasn't an easy 31 years. I will tell you that right now, because I've been alive for 29 of those. But my dad would be like two different people completely, depending on how much alcohol was in his system. And my dad always wanted to fight. It didn't matter what it was about. Always wanted to fight when he was drunk. And I grew up my entire life, and that's what I grew up with. So I didn't know it at the time, but in my mind I had locked in a part that was, I can't do anything out of what my dad wants, or it's gonna go bad. But it took therapy for me to get through that. Once we got to that point in therapy, we started talking about going out as myself. Start opening up. Learn to live as myself in society. Which was hard at first because, again, I was still in the military, and it was scary because I didn't know if I could, because of the administration that was in when I got in there. But at that time, the administration was turning over, So I felt like that was a safe time for me to do so. So I did. I did the therapy. I opened up to more and more people. I went out as myself. Still snuck out of the barracks in like boy mode. But once I had left the barracks, I would go out into the actual world as myself. So that whole year and a half left in the Army, I socially transitioned. And then when, came down to it on base to try to start hormones, they're like, oh, well, we got to prove this. It took no time. I just told them what my life experience was from there. Like, oh, yeah, no, this is no problem. So we got everything set up for me for hormones. I had like 7 months left in the Army. Sent all the right paperwork off to the right place, and wouldn't you know, the paperwork disappears. Send it up 2 or 3 more times, disappears every time. So I'm like, okay, this is not going to happen when I'm in the military. But I continued to try, and it just got pushed under that rug. I was like, okay, well, I'll find somebody to do this out in the world. So I looked for a while, and I couldn't find anything. I was like, I don't know how to do this. My insurance don't cover nothing. I don't even have insurance because I can't afford it. I spent a year and a half. I spent almost 2 full years without insurance, without medical insurance. Or medical insurance I couldn't use for that. Because I didn't take the insurance from work, and I was paying $300 a month for insurance I never used. Fun, right? Because I wanted that full paycheck, because at the time I was making $23 an hour, which is what I make now. But now I take insurance from work, and I don't see them covering some of my stuff. But I haven't delved into it with them yet. So, we're working on it. So it goes through all that. I come out here and I finally say, hey, once my dad passed away, I was like, hey, yo, this is me. I don't really care what you think anymore. I'm tired of hiding it. And, friends I had from high school, or people I went to high school with, are fully accepted. And I was like, who are you people? Because I never in a million years would have expected any of them to be like, sweet, proud of you, glad you doing things to make yourself happy. So, even people I kind of had issues with in high school because they were dickheads, for lack of a better term. And I'm trying not to cuss a whole lot. But they were that, and, they just weren't nice. And we didn't see eye to eye. They're just like, hey man, no judgment. Because that's how they talk. So, for them to say, hey man, no judgment, doesn't bother me. But now we get to my mom and my family, and I won't say they're 100% on the opposite spectrum. That's spider web. I don't like spiders. But she's on the opposite end of the spectrum. I won't say the full end. She does still let me come over. I know it sounds terrible. She still allows me to come over. She says she loves me, but she refused to use my name. She refused to use pronouns that I asked for. And, we've had arguments time and time again. Well, you weren't born that, so that's not what you are. Well, newsflash, Mama. You're wrong. And I've called her out, and I've told her, I said, the only part of this that bothers you is it's not what you wanted. Because it's no secret my mom never wanted a girl. She always wanted a boy. She prayed for a boy. God gave her a boy. Believe me, that's the only argument she ever uses. Because she thinks somehow that's going to make all this go away. And I told her, I said, that's not how it works. Okay? You got the joys of raising a boy. Kinda. Take it as a win. Now you get to have a daughter. And this is a fight we've been having since 2017. and she'll take a step forward, use the right name, and you're like, oh, cool. And then immediately take 4 or 5 steps backwards. And you're like, really? So, guess that's going to do it for this one. Hit me up later, or hit me up later. Like you have my number. Oh, I'm new to this. But, yeah, that's going to do it for this video. I'll make another one soon. See y'all.